I'm only halfway through the autopsy results, and I had to stop reading them and leave the room. I had to just literally leave the internet for the night. I left the room. I just turned away from my computer screen and just left the room for the whole evening. I just left the room. I went into a different part of my home and just did something totally different for the rest of the night. I felt the life completely leave me. I just felt horrified by it. The autopsy gave great detail. I didn't know he must have been missing for a few days. He must have been been missing for a few days until he was found, based on what I read in the autopsy. I'm about halfway through and I couldn't read anymore. I got to the bit where regarding skin slippage and talking about mild deformation of the body due to post-mortem, and I was thinking, my subconscious decided for me I couldn't continue. I got past the point where I read all how I got a good way through the autopsy, but I didn't complete it. And it was one of my subscribers uploaded the autopsy results. I'm new to her channel, so forgive me, I can't think of her name. I may think of your name as I'm talking to the camera now. I may think of your name. If not, I'll leave the link below. Thank you for uploading the results. Regardless, thank you. I was thinking, we're entitled to do anything we want with our kids, aren't we? As long as we don't get caught. This morning, since I've been up for a little while, and I was thinking about a case not so long ago where a woman had a child, must have been a 4-year-old child, and because she couldn't handle the day in, day out activities with the child, she must have been finding it difficult with discipline aspect. It must have been hindsight. She must have been finding it difficult with the discipline aspects. Anyway, she stowed her child away in a friend's flat and left the child on its own, to its own devices in said flat, while she left to carry on with her business, left to carry on with her own business in her own home, left the child to its own devices in an empty flat, an empty property, and she just continued on with her own business. And I think she had a living boyfriend as well. They just continued life as a couple, knowing that with them both knowing that their son was locked away on his own. I think he was about 4 years old, and obviously he succumbed to death. The child died. The child was left. They didn't go back to tend to the child at all. And that was it. Child died. I think that was a story in the UK we got. That was several years ago. We are basically entitled to do whatever we want with our kids, aren't we? As long as we don't get caught. Aren't we? We're entitled to whatever we want. I was watching another subs content, and I learned from that content that basically there are bodies everywhere, spent everywhere throughout the whole of the US, that there are bodies everywhere. When they're looking for missing people, they dig up, they unearth bodies which they weren't looking for en route. what we do with each other, it's sickening. It's me now laughing and joking, smile on my face, but there has to be something against not allowing what happened to Maddox Ritch happen again or happen ever. There has to be something to not allow that to happen. There has to be something which can not allow that to ever happen ever again. That can't ever happen, what happened to Maddox Ritch. That lovely little boy. And you try reading the autopsy results. You try reading the autopsy results all in one go. You try. There has to be something to stop that. That's just hideous. That's just ridiculous, that. The autopsy results describing... The coroner wrote in great detail. I was reading through the initial of it, and where it was described how the body was actually as it was found, and the coroner had written down all how the dirt was distributed all over the skin, and there was patchy leaf and patchy vegetation all over, how there was still mud and earth loose in the diaper. I wasn't aware that in an autopsy the way a body may have, when the body comes in, may well be described. I didn't know that. I thought an autopsy was simply, well, not simply, but would commence from after a given body was cleaned down and taken down to an undressed down to the skin, and naked, cleaned down actually on the bench prior to any kind of incision or that type of incision, before any kind of incision, to look for a medical reason why the body may be dead. Yeah, I didn't realise that an autopsy would actually be commenced prior to that, as to the description of how a body is in its state as it comes into the morgue. I didn't realise that on reading Maddox Ritch's autopsy. It was in great detail how the body was actually literally found. That is what has disturbed me the most with that autopsy, is that I did not expect that to read about that when I started to read that autopsy. It's I was turned white. I just went white, completely white. Just felt absolutely completely white. I felt like my whole life had left me when I was reading that. I just felt my whole life just completely left me. I just felt white. I didn't feel like I was going to faint, but I just felt white. I just felt utterly white. I was thinking, now, since this is the following morning now, I'm making this video. Thinking back now about when the father was interviewed, how the father had a wry smile on his face how he was describing how Maddox, how he was joking, the father was joking about saying, you try chasing after a 4-year-old when he's not on a lead on a Sunday afternoon. You try chasing after him. He speeds on, before I knew it, he was sped on, and I tried to, and I couldn't keep up with him, with this wry smile on his face. And you try reading that autopsy, it's, there should be something against that this ever happening. There should be something which does never allow this to ever happen again. There should be something which should never ever allow whatever happened that for a child so young to die in such an ambiguous manner. the autopsy was describing how the diaper was down to the hip on one side and down to the knee on the other, slightly torn to the left, on the left side. So, let's say I've not continued on with the autopsy, so I don't know if there are any presumptuous conclusions at the end of the autopsy, I don't know. But I said not completed it. It was noted the part where I did read that there was no disturbance, there was no sign of aggravation to the rectum, there was no sign of how was it worded, there was no sign of to the anal cavity, there was no sign of disturbance to it. Even though the diaper was down, there was no sign of as if it was manipulated, as if it was disturbed in any way, so to speak. There was no sign of tearage or anything like that. That's why my mind concluded when I was reading the autopsy. There was no sign of. I got the impression that there was no sign of foul play to the lad's anal area. So. That was my presumption when I thought with the diaper halfway down and then again being fed down to the side. That's my presumption on reading that the diaper was down, ripped as well on the side. Obviously there was foul play, there was sexual motive, but it doesn't seem to be on reading the autopsy. It doesn't seem to give that impression at all. There was not post-mortem wasn't that far in to the point where the coroner couldn't decipher such on observation. So I'm wondering now how on earth he died. I assumed when he did go missing and when his body was found that he may have simply fell and drowned. May have simply fell in and drowned. Simple accident, not simple but simple accident, so to speak. It happens. And with the solution of the water, maybe with animal, what was the word? Animal, when an animal may eat upon the carcass, the body, in post-mortem, during post-mortem. Basically, maybe the diaper was down because of due to animal, what's the word? Degradation or animal. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say. When an animal, when a body in the wild is left, wild animals may eat upon it. I don't take the tongue of the word. I can't think of the word. Maybe the diaper's down. Maybe that the clothing has been disturbed due to that. Hopefully, I'm going to continue with the autopsy. I'm hoping that it was a simple accident, that the child had ran off and managed to run on and simply fell and drowned. I'm just hoping to God that was the case. Utterly disturbing stuff, the autopsy. Utterly disturbing. Should never happen. Should never be allowed to happen. Don't know. I'll leave the link below. Right, let's warn you, it is disturbing. It makes for very disturbing reading.